All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to call this. It is 6:07 p.m. This is, you guys want to keep it down for just a second? I promise you'll have plenty of time to talk. It is Monday, September 23rd, 6:07 p.m. This is a regularly scheduled town council meeting. All council members are present, town manager, town attorney, town clerk. Please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
We are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that is given to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's difficulties. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next is the approval of the final agenda. There are some changes that were given to me. I'll see if I can try to get them all. The first in the public hearings, item C, resolution 24-19, is going to be moved to a date of October 7th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. We also have advisory committee, item H, will be moved to October 7th as well. Public hearing, letter I, which is resolution 24-178 of the town council, updating town council procedure and policy manual, that will move to October 7th as well. Item L, ordinance 24-30, unsafe building code appeals, that will be moved to October 7th as well.
No, October 21st.
21st, I'm sorry. Thank you. And then item E for administrative agenda, the settlement agreement for 131 Estero. Is that going to be
We
moved or
would
pulled?
like to have that just removed from
just
the
removed from the
agenda, yeah.
agenda? Okay, that will be pulled from the agenda. Did I miss anything?
Mayor, I have one, if I may.
Hold on a second, I think we want to make sure that, did I miss anything? No? Okay.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
They're gonna take that.
Madam Town Attorney.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
item
Sure.
E, the Estero Boulevard EIBC, ordinance 24-28. I was under the impression that it was gonna be continued. Is it actually now being removed, you say?
So we had two items, if I can provide a small explanation. These, item E as well as item G, we were trying to do some agenda management. And because of the fact that this was a later evening and a change in agenda preparation policy, it did not appear that these two would be moving forward. However, we didn't want to put the property owner or at any disadvantage, so we did put it on your agenda and allowed you to make the decision whether or not to continue it or not.
But forgive me, right now, they're, under the way it's proposed now, they're being removed, they're not being continued?
I think you're confused
No,
with
it's
the
a
administrative
request,
agenda.
and
That
we're
was
asking direction
Yes.
from council
We didn't-
if
we
you
talked
want
about
to continue it or not.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure people understand where we're headed. That's helpful.
Yes.
Item E that I think you're referring to Counselor King's point, is administrative agenda item E.
Was pulled.
That was pulled, the settlement agreement, under administrative agenda. Next
All right.
page. That's the one that's being pulled.
Okay.
There is a letter regarding administrative agenda item E. It's from Attorney Noel Davies. It's some of the materials that have been provided to you. Just very briefly, we are currently continuing to discuss, and should we reach a settlement, which I hope we do, that would resolve that potential appeal.
And then, one other thing, item G, there's a correction, it is actually the second reading, not the first reading for ordinance 24-20, and that was advertised correctly, Madam Clerk?
Yes, it was.
So are
Yes,
you,
it
are you
was.
comfortable with moving forward with agenda item B, knowing that it's the second reading and
Yes, now these items, you're proposing to continue them to a date certain. I would just ask if there's any public comment, because these are public hearings.
We can do that as we get to the item, though? Or do you want to?
Yes, that would be preferable, yes.
Okay.
So, for my clarification, we are doing G then?
We will open the ordinance and then we'll ask,
Yes, if you want to.
or we'll open the public hearing, sorry.
We'll open the public hearing, and should council want to move forward with it, you would deny the request for a continuance, or you would grant the request for a continuance, at which point we would continue it.
Got it.
So I believe, Mayor, you've basically advised the public as to some of the different things that are happening with these agenda items.
Okay.
So just the further
Clear as
confusing,
mud.
yeah, just for under public hearings, ordinance 2428, which has to do with EIBC, it's going to be proposed to be moved to October 7th, is that correct?
You will open the public hearing, and then a request has been made to move it to October 7th. You can approve that request, or you can deny it,
But in essence, it would be continuing it till October 7th, correct?
if that is the will of council, yes.
I just, a lot of folks are interested in that particular, I just want to make sure people are aware of what's happening. And that was at the recommendation of town staff, is that correct?
It was part of an agenda management issue, and I think Frankie can speak a little bit to that.
Yes, we had a hard stop date 2 weeks before, when Amy needs to get the packets together to get out to either LPA or town council. It was agreed upon that we have a hard stop. So whether it's staff or whether it's the people out in the community putting these together, if we don't have the information, it does not get on that agenda. And this is one of those that just kind of happened to be in another world where we just did not pull the trigger internally in order to get this done.
Okay, thank you.
But we allowed that decision to come to you if you wanted to move forward or not. And just one more little comment is that this one would be approved by ordinance, so there will be 2 public hearings. So you could hear it tonight as a first reading, or you could continue it to the 7th, and that would be your first reading. And then there would be a second reading after that. So you have a couple options.
Are the people here?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
All right. We will cover that then when we get to that.
Okay.
I think, does everybody understand? Scott, got it?
Yes,
All
got
right. Everybody out there get it? All right. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
In light of the current weather situation, emergency situation we find ourselves in, the governor has declared a state of emergency to include Lee County. I believe all the counties along the Gulf of Mexico. We need to declare one tonight. I request that we put resolution 24-192 under consent agenda declaring a state of local emergency due to the potential tropical cyclone 9.
Okay. Any other changes? Is there a motion to approve the final agenda as amended?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Safford.
Just quick discussion
Yes,
item,
sir.
Mr. Mayor, on the consent agenda, when it comes to declaring the state of emergency, Mr. Town Manager, just because the trajectory of this storm has eerie familiarity with what we've experienced 2 years ago, would you just take 30 seconds to a minute and update people or reiterate for folks what the evacuation plan is and the reentry plan for folks? Just give them a little guidance should things get worse?
We do it now or consent?
Whatever the will of the council is.
Just go ahead and do it now.
Okay, as usual, you know, our town staff is prepared. We've been monitoring the weather probably since sometime last week when we started hearing about this. So we've been constantly talking, speaking with each other. Of course, if there's any evacuations, we will follow the Lee County Emergency Management. We'll follow their direction. Being a barrier island, of course, we have different considerations for evacuation, which means we will, request people to evacuate. It's still early to speculate, but we'll be watching it. I know the worst of the storm will probably come sometime late or early Thursday morning into Thursday day. So we're still, but again, we should know more probably tomorrow morning as far as a little more definitive direction. But of course, then the returning to the island, should that happen, the reentry, based on the damage done to the island, if there is any, it all depend As quickly as possible, we will get people back on. We typically will station people at each end of each bridge, staff members, so they're easily identifiable. Of course, we've got the hurricane reentry passes. We have stickers on the cars. We kind of went to a different scenario 'cause that way people don't have to worry, where's my pass? They have a sticker on the car. They can still come in tomorrow and get them, and Wednesday and get those things, so we can have a clear understanding of when people are coming back. We will also station staff out at the target in case people have issues getting, we can't get back on, we need a pass, so we'll be able to help people out there. But we will continue to send out public information, press releases, media releases, email blasts. We encourage people to sign up for Code Red. We will send things out via Code Red to make sure everybody understands what is happening. But of course, our staff is available to answer any calls. We do have sandbags available. We have sand available. So we're just on high alert. We prepare for the worst and expect the best. So that's where we are as a staff, and we continue to talk. We had a meeting this afternoon, and we will have another one in the morning. So we continue to be prepared for whatever may come our way.
If everyone's okay to proceed out of order, and Chief, if you wouldn't mind, since you're here, would you like to come up and just speak on behalf of the fire department to give any updates? I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
You dressed up about it. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Scott Worth, Fire Chief, the Fort Myers Beach Fire Department. As Town Manager said, the same preparations are in place. This is the time when we encourage people to look at their hurricane plans, be ready to go in case they need to, have their supplies in case they are without power or whatnot for a few days. But same thing, we're watching this storm. It is eerily similar. I'm looking forward to seeing it start moving in the direction that they keep saying.
Right.
So as long as it follows the path they take, I think it'll feel a lot more like Debbie than an actual direct impact. But
Chief, if I could, we have a plan now in place, post-Ian, for folks to get back on the island, to identify folks, get them back on. Obviously, that's dependent upon the call that you and the emergency response folks make as to what the state of damage is with respect to the island. We've had some concerns in the past, I don't think we'll have that after Ian, that people won't leave because they have a hard time getting back. Would you let people would you comment on how you gauge when people can come back? And now that we have a system in place to allow them to come back much easier, what should people look for with respect to when and how they can get back to the island based upon your assessment of the damages?
sure. It depends on the amount of damage, but at the beginning of season, we sat and went through our plans with your staff, and, we're on the same page. We're aware of your passes. We've worked with LCSO on what it looks like to come back to the island. But in general, what we are looking for after Ian, our first mission was to rescue anybody that could be rescued, recover anybody who didn't make it. And so there's an order to things. And life safety, like in any other emergency, it'll be life first, property second. So just as soon as we can secure all life, that's when we look to getting people back on to secure their properties. So after we take care of that life component, we want to make sure there's no hazards like down power lines or leaking gas lines or whatever. So as soon as those are taken care of, then it's, we're working with the town on collecting the debris and getting people back to their properties.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Well, anybody else have a question for Chief? Thanks for letting me put you on the spot. All right, we've got a motion of the amended agenda by Counselor King, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next is public comment. Just a reminder, if you're here to speak on one of the public hearings, you're more than welcome to speak at this public comment. But if you want it on the record for that hearing, you're gonna wanna speak at the public hearing portion of the comment. But you're welcome to speak at both if you want. Just what you talk about during the hearing is what will go on the record.
I just have one from Tyler Spradling, and the others I have are for one of the items.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Tyler Spradling. I'm currently an applicant for the LPA position. I just wanted to take this time to formally introduce myself to you guys and put a face to the name in case anyone didn't know me. I think it's been a chaotic 2 years since Hurricane Ian. Everything's kind of changed. We're at an unprecedented time now, and I think what we do over the next 2 years is really going to set the tone of the island for a long time. And I grew up here. And I think I add a unique perspective to the LPA that, that's important. So just want to take this time to introduce myself and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks, David.
Is there anyone else that hasn't signed up that would like to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Local achievements and recognitions, Counselor King.
Friday, I was chairing the Lee County Metropolitan Planning Organization Board meeting, and Doug Hadaway with the Trust for Public Land came up to me beforehand and brought a couple of books from the Newtons. One is a book of poetry from Eleanor Newton, Echoes from the Heart, and the other was a pamphlet regarding Mr. Newton and his ties and work with Mr. Edison. So I'll be turning those over to the town. Thank Doug for that.
Very nice. Anything else?
That'll do it.
Vice Mayor Adderall?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
All right, Counselor Woodson?
Nothing tonight.
Counselor Safford?
We lost a dear friend last week. Mike Yost was one of the good guys. And the outpouring of support for his girlfriend Meg and his mom was incredible. We had a little celebration of life last night, and everybody said the same thing. Mike was the island, and we lost a true legend last week.
Well said. Just to kind of piggyback on that, his mother, I can't remember if it's Imo or Emo, I can never pronounce it right. She's the sweetest little lady, but she reached out to me at his memorial the other night and wanted to get in contact. So just as a reminder, with someone at the Historical Society, they would like to donate some of his things to that if they would like it. So if someone can just remind me to get you her number after this meeting so that they can get in contact. That's all I have. Advisory committees, items, reports, and appointments. Do we have anyone here from any of the committees that would like to make? No? Okay. Next is approval of the minutes. We have the town council meeting from September 9th, 2024, and the town council budget hearing from September 9th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously. Next is the consent agenda item. It's ordinance 24-192, the state of emergency for the incoming storm that was added by the town manager. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
Mayor,
Yes.
can you read the title,
I
please?
certainly can. This is resolution 24-192. It's a resolution of the town council of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, declaring a state of local emergency due to the potential tropical cyclone 9, providing the town with powers including but not limited to those pursuant to Florida statutes, Chapter 252, and Town Code, Chapter 2, Article 6, providing for penalties for violations, providing for conflicts, severability, and for an effective date and a termination date. Now, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we go to public, there's no items removed. Public hearings, the next 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like 4, correct? Quasi judice.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 5, possibly, yeah,
4, possibly 5?
yeah.
Okay. The next 4, possibly 5 items on our agenda are public hearings for review of various land use requests. For the benefit of the public, please be aware that these items are quasi judicial in nature. Our attorney will further explain.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So zoning revisions, special exceptions, variances, these are all matters that are quasi judicial in nature. And this requires that our public hearing comply with some procedural requirements that have been established in Florida law and in our land development code. So these quasi judicial proceedings, they're going to be less formal than proceedings you may experience before a circuit court, but they will be more formal than the remainder of our meeting, and they will follow basic standards of due process that requires having provided certain notices, the application of the correct standards, and the decisions made by council on competent and substantial evidence that is presented either in written documents or through oral testimony. So the town council will evaluate the testimony and the information for each of these quasi-judicial items and then draw a conclusion regarding whether the criteria that is in the Land Development Code, the comprehensive plan, or state law, as may be applicable, has been satisfied. So pure speculation or mere opinion that is not based on competent facts cannot legally be considered by the town council in evaluating an agenda item. Testimony by professionals who are qualified as experts in a particular area has been considered competent evidence by Florida courts, as well as testimony by neighbors and residents who have fact-based information, such as minutes, surveys, engineering reports, or testimony that is based on their current personal knowledge. So if you intend to speak, please keep my comments in mind. When you come forward, state your name clearly for the record, whether or not you've been sworn in, and your qualifications or your interest in the matter. So for purposes of efficiency, at the beginning of any of the public hearings, we'll go ahead and dispose of a few housekeeping items now. I need to ask the town clerk if all agenda items have been properly noticed pursuant to our Land Development Code.
Yes, they have been.
And at this time, council, I need to ask whether anyone has a conflict of interest that might prohibit them from voting on any of these items so that we can ascertain if we have a quorum present.
Counselor King?
None.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
No.
I do not have any.
None.
None.
Okay.
Okay, our next item that we need to take care of
Actually,
is
before you go on, do you want it for just the quasi-judicial or any of the public hearings?
just the quasi-judicial.
Okay.
So at this time, I'm going to ask the town clerk to swear in anyone in the audience or staff who is intending to provide testimony on any of the quasi-judicial items. If you would please stand.
That includes public comment.
In case you didn't hear Amy, she said that includes public comment as well. If you're gonna speak in public comment, you need to be sworn in as well.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, all parties have been sworn.
Okay. This item is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions or denying special exception, SEZ 202-40200, to allow repairs to a retaining wall in the EC zoning district as authorized by section 6-366 of the Town of Fort Myers Beach Land Development Code for property located at 6500 and 6502 Estero Boulevard, providing for scrivener's errors and severability.
And an
My screen
effective
just
date.
went off, sorry. Also, there's a typo, I didn't notice it until just now, it says Fort Myers, it does not say Fort Myers Beach. We'll now open the public hearing. Oh, wait, I gotta get down to the bottom first, sorry. If town council member has had any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, and in correspondence that you received or observations made of the site. Counselor King?
None.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
None.
I do not have any. Counselor Woodson?
No.
Counselor Safford?
I do not.
Okay, who's one of this? You were. I'm sorry, I forgot.
So we have the qualifications of experts, if I may, Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. For the record, Jason Smalley and Sarah Prost and Judith Frankel, they have been pre-qualified already as experts by the town council based on their education and experience, and accepted as experts in the field of land use planning and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Regarding this particular agenda item, are there any other individuals who want to be qualified as experts in their testimony? Okay, seeing none. And the property owner is the property owner present?
Or applicant?
Applicant? Okay, and have you seen a copy of the agenda items?
Yes.
Okay, great. I think that's it, Mayor.
Proceed, Judith.
Good evening, Judith Frankel, Principal Planner. This is an application for a special exception to repair a retaining wall in the environmentally critical zoning district. The Land Development Code allows for repairs of existing retaining and seawall structures in this area, but the special exception is required. The historic documents provided by the applicant for this application clearly show that the retaining wall has been in place since at least the early 1970s. This project is a repair of an existing seawall, and staff does not believe that it was going to impact the neighboring properties outside of what is already in existence. The couple of conditions that staff has suggested if you decide to approve the application. One being that the applicant must provide an approved lighting plan if lighting is proposed with the application, along with a landscaping plan, again, if they're going to add any landscaping in that environmentally critical zone. The applicant is here on behalf of the privateer, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay. John, any questions for Judith?
Not at this time.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Nothing at this time.
Counselor Woodson?
Not at this time.
Counselor Safford?
Not at this time.
Thanks, Judith. Okay, will the applicant come on up?
Good evening. For the record, my name is John Seekman. I am sworn in, and I'm with Stokes Marine here on behalf of the Privateer Condo Association. As staff mentioned, this is a repair to the existing seawall or retaining wall. We're not trying to improve or expand on it. We're looking to just repair what was there like for like and get it back to pre-storm conditions. The footprint, the elevation, the size of the cap is all going to remain the same. The repair, we do have signed, sealed, engineered plans, so it will be done to today's current building codes, even though it's not changing the footprint or the size. The wall itself, the panels that are embedded into the sand, they're not going to be touched. They're going to remain in place. So this is just the cap, which is the top portion of the seawall. And there shouldn't be any expected impacts around it. It's basically just sand all around this wall. As staff mentioned, it's been in place since the early 1970s based on the historic aerials. It was damaged in Ian, and the Privateer Condo Association is repairing their property right now. And this being the most waterward structure on the property, it's one of the first items they'd like to get repaired, because once it's done, then they can put in the landscaping and work their way back through the property. So they're just looking to get it repaired back to a like-for-like fashion from pre-Ian conditions. Happy to answer any questions.
Scott, any questions?
I have none.
Counselor Woodson?
I have none.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
I'm certainly supportive of your proposal. I'm just curious, just because a lot of folks like to follow what's happening with each individual condo unit. What's your timeline for reopening?
That I don't know.
Okay.
We're only specific to the repair on the seawall cap. If this is approved, we already have our state permit applied for with the DEP for the CCCL permit. We got our first round of questions 2 weeks ago. They were very basic. They asked for a couple dimensions and a spot elevation, so we expect that to be issued in the near future. Our local permits were applied for. That's when we found out the special exemption is required to get approval. So if everything's approved, our construction would start shortly after, and I think this is probably a 25 to 30-day project, somewhere in that time frame. So it would be, this portion would be completed 1 to 2 months probably after permit issuance.
Very good. Thank you.
Counselor Kane?
I have none.
So do you think that the start of this, based on permitting, is gonna, how far out do you think that the start date would be? Just curious if it's gonna be outside of hurricane season, turtle season.
It won't be by this Thursday.
Yeah,
It'll be outside.
it'd be outside then,
Yeah.
okay. No other questions? Thank you. Public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this matter? If so, please come forward to the podium and identify yourself, provide your address, and whether you were sworn in. Amy, you have anyone? Is there anyone in public comment that'd like to speak on this case? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Are there any additional comments or rebuttal of closing statements from the applicant? Guessing not. Okay. I'll now close the public hearing and request a discussion or a motion from town council to approve with conditions, or deny with reasons, or a continuance to a time certain. Discussion or motion?
I'll go ahead and move resolution 24-189.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
I'll second.
seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? Counselor King,
Aye.
Counselor Safford,
Aye.
Counselor Woodson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Next is item B. It is A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, to approve with conditions, or deny exception for 1400 Estero Boulevard, Lani Kai Resort, to rebuild paver decks, beach bar structures, walkways, covered screened areas, gazebo, planting areas, and wooden decking to pre-Ian condition, fully in the EC zoning, I'm assuming district is supposed to be at the end of that. Is there, if any town council members had any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, any correspondence that you received, or observations made of the site. Counselor King?
Nothing other than having driven past it.
Vice Mayor Adderall?
None.
Counselor Woodson?
None.
Counselor Safford?
None, although I'm quite familiar with the property.
Yeah, as well, I've been by it many, many times. Jason Smalley has been qualified as an expert already by this town council, and based on his education and experience, has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use planning and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are there any other individuals who would like to be qualified as an expert witness on behalf of the applicant at this time? Okay. Has the property owner applicant seen a copy of the agenda backup materials from staff? Yes, nodding yes, okay. Go ahead.
Good evening, counselors, staff members. My name is Jason Smalley. I'm with your Planning and Zoning Department. As was stated by the mayor, the request before you today is a special exception for the rebuild of the Lani Kai's beach area. This includes paver decks, beach structures, walkways, gazebos, all returning it back to pre-Ian state. The staff has validated that the aerials showing that this area being constructed go back to at least 2001. We were presented with some evidence that the areas did exist in some form or fashion prior to that, but we couldn't independently verify the dates on those. With that said, what they are requesting to rebuild and what we can validate from the previously approved LDO with the county and with aerials is they're looking to rebuild approximately 8,000 square feet of area. That is approximately 6,700 square feet of decking, hard materials. That includes also 1,300 square feet of a sand area that's being dedicated as a play area. So before you today is the request to rebuild approximately 6,700 square feet of structure. And staff is here for any questions or comments you may have, and then the applicant's here as well.
Okay, Counselor King, questions for staff?
Nothing currently.
Vice Mayor Darrell?
None.
Counselor Woodson?
Nothing yet.
And Counselor Safford?
Not right now.
I guess I just have a couple questions. Does it give, when we went through and we did the changes to allow this to happen after the storm, does it give staff any heartburn at the size? I mean, this is probably the biggest ask within the EC zoning district compared to some of the other ones. Does it give you any heartburn, one, that the size of it doesn't necessarily meet what the intent was? And two, do you think this would have any impact on our current FEMA things that we're dealing with now?
So actually, if I may start with the second question, with the
Certainly.
FEMA question. So the structures themselves are going to be non-habitable space. These are understood to break up during a 100-year storm. That's also the intent of our code, is that any materials that may get caught in the storm would break up. So being in a V zone, I think FEMA and the staff have concerns that any number of these things could feasibly be turned into a missile. But that's the same with any structure that would be on the beach. Staff does recognize that this was a large developed area. We can validate that the area is roughly in line with the original 8,600 square feet that existed prior. So from that perspective, I don't know that staff necessarily believes this is more of a risk or a nuisance to the neighbors than it was pre-storm. But the question of whether it may actually be more of a nuisance, is that the first question that you had?
Well, just basically, I mean, I know there's been talks about having electric in the EC zoning district, having plumbing in the EC zoning district, that kind of stuff. Are these structures gonna have that?
So my understanding is some of that will be attached. We're talking about redeveloping bars. I would imagine that there's going to be plumbing involved, electrical more than likely as well. Keep in mind that they also have to go out and get FDEP permitting, so they would have to meet the state's requirements to mitigate any problems with those.
So just to clarify, I'm glad you said that, because I don't know that people will, even if this gets approved, they still have other permitting that they have to go through to get it. And this-
Absolutely.
And this, I'm assuming, if approved, would be subject to all of the other permits needing to be required.
Full building permit package, and one of the conditions of approval, since we're talking about this, is staff is asking them to go back and just update their FDEP application. They have one that's approved, but staff would like to see more specificity, specifically calling out that they are redeveloping the bars back there, because that was not explicitly said in the state, or the state permitting that I saw. So
Okay.
we are asking as a condition of approval that they go back and just explicitly call out all the structures they'll be using back there, including any utilities. And then at that point, I think that gives the state a better understanding of what the full breadth of their project is going to be.
Understood. Okay. Thanks, Jason.
You're welcome.
Would the applicant like to come up?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow town council members. Greg Stewart for the record of Stewart Associates Planning and Design Services, assisting in the representation of the Lani Kai LP. For the record, we agree with the staff report in its entirety, findings and conditions. The recommended conditions are reasonably related to what we are seeking. What we are seeking is fundamentally a build back. We're not adding any use, any intensity. We're not changing any location. We're requesting the ability through a special exception to build back what we had. Fundamentally, the two key code sections are 3488B, the findings, and again, we completely agree with staff findings. The second code consideration would be 34652, that allows for major accessory structures, which in this case, what we're talking about, to be built back through a special exception. It's important to point out that the great majority of what we are seeking are passive recreation at grade type facilities or plantings, planting boxes, boardwalks, pavers. The major structure is the beach bar. And again, we have a PowerPoint. I can show you an illustration of that if you care to see that, but I'm pretty comfortable in knowing that y'all have probably been to the Lani Kai, you know what we're talking about. So in terms of the intensity, again, it's de minimis within the context of the floor area ratio and or the square footage and or the impervious coverage of what we're talking about. With regard to the findings and conditions, it's important to note that we are consistent with the Land Development Code. We do meet the performance standards. It is compatible with the neighborhood. Principally, it conforms to the comprehensive plan. This is not a new development. Again, there is no change in use, intensity, location, and the like. We agree with the conditions, turtle lighting, going back to FDEP with regard to coastal construction, and the like. So we respectfully suggest that please approve this special exception. So this will allow Lani Kai to complete its build back process and allow for them to open with the type of amenities and features that it historically has had on that site. And again, it's my understanding it's been almost 40 years that we're talking about. So again, this will be a very needed amenity to help secure the economic foundation of Lani Kai. So I'm available to address any questions
All right.
that you may have.
Thanks, Greg. Scott, any questions?
Oh, I'm good right now.
Council Woodson?
I still don't understand how they can put like a bar back with electrical and plumbing and that kind of thing, because I thought everything on the ground floor, any kind of mechanics or anything like that was not allowed anymore.
Again, your code 34652E this is an accessory structure, and it does allow that. Okay, and it also, again, it's important to note, it's not habitable. Kara.
Come on up, Kara.
Okay, I'm out of here.
Kara's gonna answer for me.
Kara Stewart, for the record, representing Lani Kai. In relationship to that question, this will be the first step. We have zoning, we have DEP, we have building permits to acquire. the FEMA does allow in your V zone for commercial. We have to have quick disconnect. The structure that was previously there was an aluminum structure. I've already spoken with them. We have to go through, the building code has changed multiple times. So we will be bound by FEMA regulations and the building code. So I don't know that that's something that council needs to necessarily be concerned with, because we have some regulations in place.
So you'll get to that point when you get to that
Correct.
permitting and.
Correct. This approval will not bypass any of those steps in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Don't run off. You might have another question. Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Yeah, I have a question. I think I see somebody from the ownership team here. I always like to give businesses an opportunity, particularly those who are reopening. If you want to come up, and a lot of people are watching, do you want to kind of tell your story about when you hope to reopen and what'll be the same, what'll be different, what'll change? Just kind of make your pitch about returning to Fort Myers Beach.
I love your Snoopy shirt.
Yeah, I figured
Joe
nobody
Cool.
could hate Snoopy. Everybody loves
Joe
it.
Cool.
Well played,
Well,
well played.
my family, obviously, we've been here for 40-something years on Fort Myers Beach. I
Ken,
went
you
to
make
beach
sure you
school.
say your name for
Oh,
us.
I'm Ken Conadaris. My family built the Lani Kai, my parents, and basically everything that, we live and breathe Fort Myers Beach. I mean, I went to Fort Myers Beach School, and before the storm, if there was any problems or issues, we went ahead and would make sure we fixed it together. And that's what we're trying to do now, is we're just trying to get open, have people get back to normal. Our livelihoods and our, a lot of families and stuff that work for us, we're just dependent on that. Hopefully we can go ahead and start the process.
Ken, do you want to just give a little teaser about your timeline and maybe some things that'll be different or the same, or things you want to pitch about your new facility?
Yeah, I can honestly say my brother, he's a contractor, and they've been building, and I think the hotel's looking very nice. We're up to the new codes, and basically I feel like we're going to be better than ever, and instead of we're trying to unify. Whatever you guys want, we try to do. And that's what we're trying to make sure we succeed.
But you want to talk about the timeline to open, and also
Yeah.
about some of the things you'll have that maybe you're returning, or things that are new, or anything different that you want to just talk
I
about?
believe November 1st is what we're kind of shooting for.
Hi guys, I'm Mike Conadaris. I'm the contractor. I do a lot of work for you guys too. Do you run the grill? We're looking for probably November 1st. We got just about everything done. We'll be doing our final walkthroughs with the fire department. Actually, I think I have one more walkthrough. I'll have that all done. We pretty much got all of our permits pretty much closed out now. And we're just hoping for your blessing to get started.
Very good. Thank you.
Hold on, guys. Don't. John, got any questions?
I'm good.
Since you guys are up there, I just got a couple questions. As I said at the beginning, our intent to do this was to allow people to have back in a minimal amount of what they had before. Yours, like I said, is obviously the biggest area that we've dealt with. Would you guys be open at all? I mean, you got a lot of pavers there, and I remember what it looked like before. And would you be open at all to downsizing some of that pavered area? I'm just trying to kind of find it. It's a lot that's going on there. That's on that side of the CCCL, and it's for me. I would feel better knowing that we're trying to minimize as much as we can. I think you've got it listed here as a seating area. Does it matter if it's pavers or if it's you look at the beach bar, for instance, people love to just sit in the sand out there with the tables on it. Just throwing it out there if that's something that you guys would be interested in potentially doing.
We'd be happy to work with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even part of it's still a playground area.
Yeah, I saw that. I see that on the right-hand
A lot
side.
of it's still sand. I mean, there's only really 2 bars that we're putting back up. The rest of it's just mostly just sand and.
Is that elevated deck gonna go back? I assume that went up to the,
Right now, that's not in the cards.
it's not, so that's not in here. I didn't see it. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss it.
We drew up everything that we wanted that was there before.
I'm sorry. That is part of the request.
So that it is in there, the stairs that go up to that second
That
level.
top part is a part of the request that was filed, that's
Okay.
correct.
We just put everything in the drawing, the way it
Yeah.
used to be. Now, when we went to the LPA, they said, are you willing to get rid of some of the wood deck and put pavers there? Because they were worried about, things shooting in.
Sure.
We'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just looking to fulfill the intent of what we've been trying to do, but also minimize the potential risk, not just for you, but people that live on the other side of the street. If there's a potential storm we get hit with again, and just trying to, we all unfortunately remember what the debris looked like from all the buildings from the Gulf side, and to help minimize that, if you'd be willing to work with staff, that would go a long way, I think.
Just another clarification with this too, to be something to be aware of that's more unique on this property when we're talking about forward of the 78 line. We are still approximately 140 feet from the mean high water line, unlike some of the other structures that are being replaced in the EC. So we're well beyond that mean high water line. You know, your code requires me to be 50 feet from that. We're 100 and something feet from that. So I
And
think
Kara,
as
is
far as
that,
the
is that
environmental-
measurement, well, I guess
Go
it's
ahead.
two questions. Is that measurement that you said, is that from the current status now, or is that after the beach renourishment? And did you guys sign up for to be part of the beach renourishment?
The survey that I was looking at prior to the meeting, I'd have to just tell you, was from, I think, April of '23.
Okay.
So from that point, I believe the Conaderises had brought in all their own sand. So they had done a beach renourishment part of their refurbishment.
So you didn't sign on with the towns
Correct.
to do
No,
it?
they did the same
Okay.
thing on their own.
Got it. That's all I had. Thanks, guys. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this matter? If so, please come forward to the podium and identify yourself, provide your address, and whether you were sworn in. Amy, you have anybody?
I have nobody.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this public hearing? Seeing none, are there any additional comments, rebuttal, or closing statements from the applicant? Guessing probably not. Okay. I'll now close the public hearing and request a discussion or a motion from town council to approve with conditions, or deny with reasons, or a continuance to a time certain.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'll move approval of Resolution 24-187 with conditions by staff.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion by Vice Mayor Adderholt, seconded by Councilor Woodson. Any?
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
Pardon, before the voting, is there any specific area or percentage that you intended to put in the conditions of approval as far as the reduction in some of the paver work? Or is that being left to staff and the applicant to see what's feasible?
I don't necessarily feel that we need to micromanage you guys, and I think you guys could figure it out on your own. I don't know that, I don't wanna say a percentage or try to put a percentage in there
Fair
that
enough.
doesn't make sense for you or for them. I think they understand, where I was coming from, and try to minimize it as much as possible, but.
I think they have to think
I'm
about
okay
it
with-
too.
Huh?
I think they have to go back and look at it and think about it.
Yeah,
go
and
back
I'm guessing
forth.
the DP may have their input on what they're gonna allow and what they're not gonna allow, so they're gonna have final say when it comes to what actually can be put out there anyway, so.
Excellent, thank you
I
very
don't
much.
have any percentage in it.
I appreciate the clarification.
Mayor, we just noticed there's a couple little Scrivener errors in the resolution that's in your packet. We'll just correct those before it's
Yeah.
signed.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, Vice Mayor Adderholt,
Aye.
Counselor Woodson,
Aye.
Counselor Safford,
Aye.
Counselor King,
Aye.
and I'm aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. All right, the next item was moved, item C, so we are on to item D. This is an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions, or denying the commercial plan development, CPD zoning, for the property located at 2545 and 2555 Estero Boulevard, generally identified as strap numbers 19-46-24-W3-00458.0000 and 19-24-24-W3-00458.0010 in Fort Myers Beach to allow a fire station and a mixed-use development, including civic, residential, lodging, retail, office, and marine uses, providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, Scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date. Is there any town council member that has had ex parte communication to disclose? Please let us know the subject discussed and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, any correspondence that you received, or observations made of the site.
I'm sorry, was that me?
Yes, sir.
I have no correspondence.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
None.
Counselor
None.
Wooden? Counselor Safford?
None, but for the record, my wife is a fire commissioner, but we have not discussed this at all.
I've had several communications with the fire chief over the last 2 years about what potentially could be here, so nothing is specific about this final project, however.
So may I ask, Councilmember Stafford,
Or
Stafford, I'm so sorry, you make me run around the building. So your disclosure is based on your wife's affiliation with it. Is there any special gain or loss that
None.
you all are receiving because of that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Judith has been qualified as an expert already by this town council, and based on her education and experience, has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use planning and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are there any other individuals who would like to be qualified as expert witnesses on behalf of the applicant at this time? Seeing none, has the property owner or applicant seen a copy of the agenda backup materials from staff? You're nodding yes. Go ahead, Judith.
Good evening again. This is an application to rezone 2.16 acres from a CPD to a CPD with several deviations. Fort Myers Beach Fire Control District is applying for this new CPD mainly to allow the development of the Fort Myers Beach Fire Station. The current CPD does not permit essential services buildings, and so this necessitates coming in for the new CPD. The district intends to divide the total site into two parts. The larger portion fronting Estero Boulevard, 1.17 acres, to build their new fire station, which is shown in the master concept plan in your packet. The remaining 0.99 acres is intended to be sold and later developed. No master concept plan is presented to you now for that portion of the tract. However, the applicant has requested a CPD for the total site with the intent of reducing the number of uses permitted for that rear portion of the site to reduce any potential impact of a future development. So typically you would see a master concept plan for the entire site because there is already a CPD on the site and they were eager to move forward with the fire station and redevelop the other portion later. We're bringing to you what is basically an incomplete. So whoever purchases or leases the land at a future time would have to come back for either a CPD amendment and a master concept plan amendment for that project. But in thinking about this and moving forward, the applicant decided to change the allowable uses for that rear lot to potentially have less of an impact on neighbors. So the deleted uses from the existing CPD include restaurant, bar, or cocktail lounge, on-premise consumption of alcohol, commercial dock use, so like for a water taxi, and transit terminal. So those uses have been deleted, and they have added into the potential uses a park, place of worship, religious facility, school, assisted living, and bed and breakfast, in addition to the essential services of the fire station. So that's what that change is there. There are 6 deviations, which you can see we went through. The first 5 are all related to the emergency vehicles that are going to be used on site and the parking aisle width requirements, landscaping requirements that would be are particular to this site because of its use as a fire station. The last deviation, number 6, is for that rear portion of the property which we don't have a master concept plan for. And what they're asking there is the allowable density is 6 units per acre. The acreage of that rear portion is 0.99 acres. So what they're asking is that we allow them to round up so that the maximum number of units there would be 6 instead of 5. And we put in the recommended conditions for the property that deviation only apply to that rear portion of the property and not to the portion that's going to have the firehouse. The applicant is here, as you know, but I'm also available for questions.
And that last part you said you kind of left out, by doing that, by letting them round up, still reduces the overall density of the entire site as a whole.
Yes, correct, because right now, with the current zoning, you could have 13 units for the site as a whole, but because they're dividing it up, there's only that .99 in the back.
Great. John, you got any questions for Judith?
Not at this time.
Vice Mayor?
None.
Karen?
I'm good.
Scott?
I'm good.
I'm good, thank you. Yes, sir, come on up. Busy man today, Greg.
Hello again, Greg Stewart for the record, representing the Fort Myers Beach Fire Control District. A question to the elected officials, would you like a full presentation, or is there anything specifically you would like me to focus on?
John, do you have any preference?
I have none.
I watched this on the LPA, so
Okay.
I saw it, yep.
Yeah, I did too.
I
Yeah,
did too,
watched-
but
okay.
maybe just for people that didn't get to see it, if you could just do just a quick run through.
Okay, a key fact is that this is a follow-up to Resolution 0808, and as a point in question, as a point in fact, the last deviation, deviation 6, the roundup deviation, that was a deviation that was approved. In this particular case, staff has pointed out, not only are we de-intensifying the uses, but we are de-intensifying the intensity. The property with the old CPD was permitted at 50,304 square feet, 13 units or 32 lodging units. So what we're doing is coming in and slashing that in half. The fire station site, and this fire station site consists of, and this is total gross leasable gross floor area, is 17,188 square feet. And then in the rear, the unplanned, if you will, site, the future phase, that'll be for 10,000 square feet. The floor areas are very de minimis. The floor area that's being proposed for let's call it the north unplanned site is 23%. We come in far under the regulatory floor area for the fire station. The regulation's 40%, we're coming in at 33%. So when you look at the totality of the project, we're reducing intensity, we are striking out potential problematic uses. We absolutely, by code, we absolutely have to come back and, in essence, rezone the north unplanned portion. So clearly, y'all are going to have a big stake in that portion of the property. What was driving the application was that, yes, we have a comprehensive commercial plan development. It's in the fire department's interest to maintain that. So that's why we wanted to establish the overall parameters. And here's an illustration of the new fire station. I think it's I think it fits in well with the context of the town. I compliment Gore McGahee Architects. They're not here, but they did a great job. Then there's an elevation. Again, we meet code, facade treatment, building height, as I stated, floor area, also setbacks, all that stuff we meet code. In terms of findings, we are consistent with all town findings regarding compatibility, environmental impact, servicing, traffic, all that. In fact, with traffic impacts, because we're reducing potential intensity, and in essence, it's a fire station that generates very, very low trips, the impacts on the roadway on Estero Boulevard are going to be very low. In terms of the deviations, deviation 1 is for landscaping, buffering type D along Estero Boulevard, because we want to have an unobstructed view corridor as fire trucks exit the site. The deviation is to not have the 5 trees per 100 linear feet, but we are proposing, instead of the trees, we're basically doing a triple hedge, the double standard hedge plus 18 shrubs per 100 linear feet, so that's a triple hedge, so that compensates for a lack of trees. The second deviation, spacing deviation between Gulf Beach Road and Tropical Shores Way, that's a functionally related separation standard, and it's important to note that the driveway connection that we're proposing is the same driveway that Tops use. So the geometry's there, albeit it's wider and the turning radiuses are larger, again to facilitate fire truck and emergency access.
So, Greg, before you go on from that, see it covered. So will the fire trucks be able to turn around on site, or will they have to back in off of Estero? Or will they come in off of Tropical Shores Way and then?
Well, they'll be by backing up. Let's say if they egress, they get out of the site, they'll be able to go north or south. In terms of coming back into the site,
Do you understand what I'm? Yeah.
the bays are in the front, so they don't have to back up. And then,
Well, they usually back their
but then in the
apparatuses
rear,
up.
the rear site, well, here, and you can speak to that, but the rear site allows for through circulation. Here we go.
Okay, I must have missed it.
There we go.
Mayor
I
and
see.
council, this is a drive-through station, which
Yeah.
is different than the other stations, that, the one that's on the south end and the one we had mid-island. So the intent is to come home on Tropical Shores, come into the back of the station and drive out. The driveway on the front is wide enough if we need to back in, we'll be off the boulevard when we do it.
Okay.
Since you're up here, Chief, just in order to save time, first of all, thank you for limiting the uses of your back property. I know the neighbors on Tropical Shores Way will be very thankful for that. That's very, very kind of you to do that. Second of all, as you know, post Ian, and we've lost the town hall building there, and there's a lot of transition that's gonna go on over the next 5 years there. Your building's fronting Estero Boulevard. It's a public building. My guess is you're working 24 hours a day. Is there any thought to figuring out a way where the public could have access to a restroom if push comes to shove?
This, so the first floor has a restroom, and it's attached to the lobby area. So if people if people walk up to the building and they access the building, that public area would be open, it would have a restroom included.
So that would work for I mean, obviously you don't want it to be a focal point, but I mean, but if somebody had to use the restroom, they could stop by the firehouse and use the restroom?
They could, it will be behind, so after hours, they come up to the video phone, hey, I'm here to visit, somebody comes down and meets them. It won't be open at all times.
Yep.
So, but there is a public restroom.
Okay, I just know
It's
that
attached to
that
the
would
lobby.
be a help in the neighborhood if
course.
push comes to shove. I mean, hopefully it,
Yeah, we encourage people to walk up and come visit anyway,
all right,
so.
very good, thank you.
Yep.
And Chief, since you're up there, for the sake of time, as far as the construction of the building, I know we've had a lot of conversations about hardening the building and potentially making it a place for an EOC, and is any of that in the construction aspects, or are you just?
No, so originally when we were doing this project on the back part of the property, we were including administration and training. And the training was one of those components I was worried about being so close to residential neighborhood. So we've changed the plan since the storm. This is just a standalone fire station. It will be hardened, it will be resilient, so we'll be able to occupy it, depending on the levels of flooding. But the administration and training will be taken off of Island, on the other project that we'll be doing over on Main Street. That building will have meeting area, and it will be hardened as well, but it will be able to serve those purposes if we're looking for somewhere where we can get together after a storm.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Any questions for the chief before we? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Making this kind of easy on us.
Well, then, any other questions, or any discussion on deviations? Again,
Counselor
it's all
Stafford?
pretty straightforward.
No, I'm good.
Counselor Woodson?
I'm good.
I don't have any either. Vice Mayor?
Nothing additional.
Counselor Kane?
None.
All right, thank you. All right, are there any members of the public who would wish to comment on this matter? If so, please come forward to the podium and identify yourself, provide your address, and whether you were sworn in. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Are there any additional comments, rebuttal, or closing statements from the applicant? Guessing probably not. All right, I will now close the public hearing and request a discussion or a motion from the town council to approve with conditions, deny with reasons, or a continuance to a time certain. Is there a motion or any further discussion?
I'll move 24-27 with staff recommendations.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Does anyone need to take a brief break before we read the next one?
Please.
All right, we'll take a brief 10-minute break. We'll come back at 7:20.
So every time I screw up your name,
All right, everyone, we're gonna call the meeting back to order. This is, it's 7:22. Before we go on to the next item, there's just a little, clarity we need for the last item, ordinance 24-27. That approval was to send it to the second reading on October 7th, at 9 a.m. for the fire, the fire district. It wasn't mentioned that that's what the.
Yep.
So our next ordinance, the next case, or next hearing we have is an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions or denying a town of Fort Myers Beach ordinance and approving the conditions for the commercial plan development rezoning for the properties located at 1836 and 1840 Estero Boulevard, less the area within the environmental critically zoning district, generally identified as strap numbers 19-46-24-W4-03200.00 and 19-46-24-W4-03200.1010 Fort Myers Beach, providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date. You seem like you need to say.
Yes, I'm seeing a different title in the actual ordinance that's before you. May I read it? And that'll keep us moving along.
You go ahead and read, so it's different than what I have?
I believe so. It's just slightly different.
Okay, go ahead.
So, an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions, denying a request to rezone property located at 1836 and 1840 Estero Boulevard, less the area within the environmentally critical zoning district, generally identified as strap numbers 19-46-24-W4-03200-00 00CE and 19-46-24-W4-03200.1010 Fort Myers Beach from downtown district to commercial plan district. Approval of 5 deviations from the Fort Myers Beach Code of Ordinances, a schedule of uses, and a master concept plan, providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date.
A little bit different.
Just a little.
Okay, before we move on, there has been a request to continue to a date certain. Is there a motion from council to continue it to a date certain of October 7th? Or do you want to move forward with the hearing this evening for the first reading?
I'll make a motion to move forward with the first reading and have the second reading on October 7th,
Okay,
9
got a
a.m.
Motion by Counselor Woodson. Is there a second? There is no second. So that motion fails. Right?
Correct. Is there an alternative motion?
Is there an
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I would move to continue ordinance 24-28, and I would like to explain my motion.
Yes, sir.
There's been a lot of communication on this issue in the last couple weeks, and I was under the impression that we were going to continue this until October 7th. I've had probably 20 emails from remonstrators to this particular project who I explained that it would likely be continued, or otherwise they may be here. And in fairness to both sides, I would have a hard time not continuing it based upon some of the information that's been conveyed publicly thus far.
Okay. Got a
I
motion.
understand there's 2 votes on this, but still, I think there's a lot of interest in this particular project on both sides, and I just think it would only be fair to continue to October 7th.
Okay, got a motion by Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, got a Counselor King. Got a motion by Vice Mayor Adderholt, a second by Counselor King. Any further discussion? You want a roll call vote? Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
No.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries 4-1
So the item is continued?
till October 7th.
Okay.
Thank you. What are you saying? Thank you.
It's not like you're not getting your day.
Have a wonderful evening. All right, we have to move item G up in front of item F. The town attorney has told me that this quasi judicial, so we will,
So, counsel, this one is pretty much in the same position as your last one was. We'll go ahead and, if we can, read the title, and then if there is a motion to continue the item until October the 7th, or hear it this evening.
okay? This is the second reading, actually, there was a clerical
Was the
error.
typo there?
This is the second reading and public hearing on a proposed ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending the town of Fort Myers Beach ordinance number 24-01 and approving deviations for the commercial plan development zoning for the property located at 1170, 1180/1192, 1204/1206 Estero Boulevard, 251 Crescent Street, 1150 Fifth Street, and an unaddressed parcels generally identified as strap numbers 24-46-23-W3-00205.0070 MCP parcel number 3, 24-46-23-W3-00006.0000 MCP parcels number 1, 24-46-23-W3-00206.0060 MCP parcel number 1, and 24-46-23-W3-00009.0000 MCP parcels number 2 and number 5, 19-46-24-W4-U0494.2609 MCP parcel number 2, 24-46-23-W3-00205.0070, and 19-46-24-W4-U0419.2610 MCP parcel number 2, and 19-46-24-W4-01440B.0070 MCP parcels number 2 and number 5, 19-46-24-W4-U0496.2608 MCP parcel number 2, and 19-46-24-W4-U0498.2607 MCP parcels number 2 and number 6, Fort Myers Beach, providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for codifications of law, scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date. I'll now open the public hearing. There is a request to continue this to a date certain on October 7th. Is there a motion to hear the second reading today or continue to October 7th?
I move to continue to October 7th, just so I can hear you read that L again.
I'd do the opposite, just not hear that again.
Was that a serious motion, Counselor?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll second.
Counselor King has made a motion to continue to October 7th, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor King,
Aye.
Counselor Safford,
Aye.
Counselor Woodson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt.
Aye.
And I cannot vote on this, so I will be abstaining. The motion carries 4-0. Okay.
Mayor, do you want to state on the record the basis for your abstention?
Yes, I have a business agreement with the Margaritaville Resort. So
So you'll be filling out the
I
form?
will be filling out Form 8.
And filing it?
And filing it, yes.
Thank you.
Do I need to fill out the form today and again on the 7th as well? You got it?
When you abstain.
Got it. So I will be filling out Form 8 with the town clerk. Okay, now we are going back to item F. This is a first reading and public hearing on a proposed ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending table 34-2 titled Use Subgroups Permitted in Each Zoning District in Chapter 34, Article 3, Division 2 to amend the allowed subgroups for the CV zoning district from limited to open for the lodging, office, and retail use groups, the land development code subdivision 5-CB zoning districts found in Chapter 34, Article 3, Division 5, redevelopment zoning districts to place limitations on new outdoor dining and outdoor entertainment uses, providing for severability, codification, scrivener's errors, conflicts of law, and providing for an effective date. I will now open the public hearing. If there is any town council member that has had any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, any correspondence that you received, or observations made of the site. Counselor King?
None that I recall.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
None that I recall.
I do not have any either. Counselor Woodson?
I do not.
Counselor Safford?
I do not.
Okay. Sarah Prost has been qualified as an expert already by this town council, and based on her education and experience, has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use, planning, and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are any other individuals who would like to be qualified as an expert witness? Well, we are the applicant, so.
This one is legislative.
I don't gotta read all this.
No.
You could have stopped me 20 minutes ago.
You were doing a great job.
We just thought it was so awesome. All right, let me put that.
Love to hear you.
Sorry, Sarah, run away with it.
That's okay. Good evening, Sarah Probst with Community Development. Before you have an ordinance change that would allow additional uses in the CB zoning district. At present, the CB zoning district only allows uses that were previously on those parcels. So this causes property owners to be unable to have new uses on their property. So if they were an office, they can never turn that commercial property into a restaurant or a store. So this would allow them additional uses that you find in the, it would be open for lodging, office, and retail, and currently it's limited for all of those. So it would allow additional uses, and in order to limit interactions, negative interactions with adjacent residential properties, because most of these properties are adjacent to residential, we have included some language in there that would require uses that tend to cause more problems to have to go through special process. So, for example, a new outdoor entertainment or live entertainment or outdoor seating would require a special process. At the LPA hearing, I had included these as special exception requirements, so they would have to go through the special exception process. It sounded as if the LPA was interested in seeing these as CPD allowed only. I don't know that I don't know if that was the original intent of the council, though, when we had originally discussed this, because requiring them to rezone to get these is kind of what we were requiring them to do previously. So another option would be to change this back to special exception for outdoor entertainment, live entertainment, or outdoor seating.
Okay, questions for Sarah? Counselor King?
None.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Sarah, I think you've done a great job with this ordinance draft, but I had a question from a constituent, and you've tried to address it, but she says, does the proposed change mean that anyone who puts in for a CPD and has it approved will be allowed to have outdoor music? I just want you to answer that, and then I have a couple questions for you, because it sounds like we're gonna go through the special exception process as opposed to the CPD process. And just for folks who are listening and concerned, and there's some concern about the theater and Charlie's with respect to live music, when one goes through the special exception process, what sort of safeguards and opportunities for public input are there when one goes through that process?
So when somebody goes through a special exception process, it's one LPA hearing and one town council hearing. You're allowed to put conditions on that and to choose whether or not you think that that's an appropriate use in those locations.
So both the LPA and the council could disapprove the use of live music at either one of those locations, should the evidence merit that?
Yes, that's correct. Or put special conditions on it that put limitations, such as decibel levels, not allowed after a certain time, only certain types of music, not drums. I know that we've used that in the past. So there are safeguards against it, and there is a public hearing process. So if people had concerns, if neighbors were concerned, they could certainly come to the meeting and speak against it or in favor of it.
That's helpful, thank you.
Counselor Woodson?
I'm good for now.
Counselor Safford?
Is there any potential impacts that we're not aware of by giving these benefits in the CP? I know what our original idea was to help people like Paula Kiker in that situation. But I'm getting some residents are really worried about, hey, this we might be letting them have too much.
So I did include some maps so that you can see specifically the properties, because I know that there were concerns that these were in residential neighborhoods and that would have a really big impact. So if you look at the darker pink and the darker orange, there are only, I think, 2 or 3 orange properties on there. And Jason, if you go to the next one also. And then on there, the pink and the orange. Those are the only properties that are zoned CB. It's a total of 35 properties on the island. They are all located along Estero Boulevard. The vast majority of them are already commercial of some kind. The orange ones indicate that they're currently residential uses, which they would be allowed to remain residential or choose a commercial use, which is something they would have a hard time doing now. I think as far as my reading of the code, once they're residential, they would have a hard time getting to a commercial use by the way the current code is written. So I think I can understand that people don't want to give away any additional uses, but I think that these are reasonable uses, and we do have safeguards by requiring them to come back if they want to do something above and beyond, including the outdoor entertainment, outdoor seating, things like that. I mean, we could certainly try to put more guardrails on it, but this is just kind of giving these commercial properties similar rights to other commercial properties, so that they know what they're allowed to build. Because right now, you'd have to know what had been built on the property before in order to know what you could build in the future.
I think we can all agree that the way it was is just nonsensical. I mean, bank had to be a bank, and
Well, and I think there's some confusion. I think some people understand this, that by making this change, it's going to allow people to have outdoor music. It's gonna allow them to have more intensity or density. None of that is true. This is simply just going to allow someone that was a bank could be a coffee shop. Now, if they wanna have outdoor music at that coffee shop, they still have to come through the CPD process or some other process to make sure that they get that. By doing this, they don't automatically, and if you come in for a CPD, that doesn't automatically give you the right to have amplified music or the right to have anything else. You still have to come in and ask for it through the CPD process. So I think that's where a lot of the confusion was happening. I sent an email over to Sarah that I got from a constituent today, and I'll forward it to her. Some of the things that she laid out were what I talked about. She thought by doing this, if you just applied for the CPD, that you would get live music and you'd be able to get all that stuff, and that is not the case. This is just simply opening up the uses in the CB zoning district.
Yes, that's
Potentially.
Yeah, and I think, just to add to that, I think you've done a nice job of limiting the number of properties that are eligible, and some of those properties have been, for lack of a better term, dead properties, even prior to Ian. We've got some properties on the south end that are right on Estero that are commercial properties that have been vacant for a long time. And somebody wanted to put in a tea room at one point. There's just different ideas that have come forth that just haven't been able to fit under our sort of Byzantine guidelines. And this allows some additional options that would obviously, with this special exception process, have checks and balances to make sure the neighbors were okay with the use. But hopefully it'll give a rebirth to some of these properties. I can think of 3 or 4 on the south end have just been dead. And boy, we need options on the south end desperately. So I think this could be very helpful.
Okay. Any other questions for Sarah? Seeing none, okay, we'll open it up for public comment.
They all left.
Everybody left. All right, I will close public comment. I will now, I don't have to read this bottom part anymore, do I? No, okay. I'm putting this away. All right, discussion or a motion for ordinance 24-26 to go to the second reading on October 7th at 9 a.m. Yes.
Could I get one clarification in that motion, whether you want it to be the CPD or the special exception process? Or if you have more questions about that?
I would support the special exception
Special
process,
exception.
because it'd be less costly.
I think so,
And it
too.
still has the same safeguards, but.
Right, and
Right.
CPD is way too time consuming and,
And too expensive.
and too expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
Special exception.
And the special exception, Sarah, would be different than a variance, meaning the process that we just implemented for people asking for a variance, if after 10 days there was no objection, they would still need to go through the council process.
That's correct.
Okay, just want to make sure that there's a clarification there between the variance and the special exception. Do you want that in the form of the motion as well as to include that?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to
So moved.
approve moving this?
Second.
Okay,
Ordinance 24
Got it.
26, CP zoning district amendment.
got a motion by Counselor Safford, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any further discussion? Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously.
Good job, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Item H has been moved, so we are on to item J. Is that correct? Is that what your notes tell you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the second and final reading of proposed ordinance 24-19 entitled An Ordinance of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending section 28-30, immobilization and impounding of illegally parked vehicles of Division 1, generally of Article 2, stopping, standing, and parking of Chapter 28, traffic and vehicles of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, to include the accepted methods of payment of any fines and charges related to illegal parking and immobilization of illegally parked vehicles, providing for codification, severability, scrivener's errors, conflicts of law, and an effective date. Is that you, Frankie?
It can be, yeah. So basically, this is just a rehash of the payment terms. We kinda got, some people got out of their skis or over their skis on this one.
Wink, wink.
We're not hiring, towing companies or any of that such. All it is a way to easily get payment and not hold it against the town or keep us, for
Right.
booting a vehicle.
Okay, any questions for Frankie? Counselor Kane?
None about this.
Okay. Vice Mayor Adderhope? Counselor Woodson?
None.
Counselor Safford?
I'm good.
And I do not have any. Is there a motion to approve?
Public comment.
Oh, public comment, I'm sorry. We'll open up for public comment. There's no one here? You sure? You don't wanna come say something? Okay. We'll close public comment. Now, is there a motion for ordinance 24-24? Oh, I lied.
24-19.
24-19.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Counselor King, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously.
Sorry.
Next is item K. This is the second reading and final public hearing on proposed ordinance 24-25 entitled An Ordinance of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 16, Article 1 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Fort Myers Beach by creating Section 16-1, public camping or sleeping on any public property, public building, or public right-of-way prohibited, and amending Article 4 of Chapter 32 to remove Section 32-70, applicability 32-71 intent, and 32-72 prohibited, providing for codification, severability, scrivener's errors, conflicts of law, and an effective date. Nancy?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is your second reading. As has been previously discussed, I believe we did that also at an management and planning meeting. Florida statutes changed and created a new cause of action potentially for sleeping or public camping on public property. This was authorized in House Bill 1365. That bill provided for a county to designate an area that would allow public camping and public sleeping on these pieces of public property. Lee County has not adopted such an ordinance, and should they decide to, they would come to council to ask for your comment and input before they did so. Short of that, without this ordinance that's before you today on second reading, a individual could have a private cause of action or a cause of action against the town based on our failure to prohibit public sleeping or camping. So by having this ordinance codified, you have taken some steps to protect yourselves from a risk management perspective against any such type of lawsuits.
Okay. Counselor Safford, any questions for Nancy?
Not at this time.
Counselor Woodson?
Not,
Vice Mayor Adel?
None.
Counselor King?
Do these meetings count?
I do not have any. Public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in public comment? Okay, I'll close public comment. Ask for a motion for ordinance 24-25, public camping or sleeping.
Move to approve.
Counselor King, motion from Counselor King,
second.
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is the long one, item M. This is the second reading and public hearing of an ordinance entitled.
So how about L? We would need to open the public hearing on L,
We do?
yes, to continue it to a date certain.
Okay, well,
Because
let's-
it's second reading, it has been advertised.
Let's do that then. We'll go back. This is item L. Second reading and final public hearing of proposed ordinance entitled an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending Division 1, or Number 1, Division 3 Unsafe Building Abatement Code of Article 1 Property Maintenance Codes and Division 2 Lee County Boards of Adjustment and Appeals of Articles 2 Building Codes of Chapter 6 Maintenance Codes, Building Codes, and Coastal Regulations of the Land Development Code of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, to amend existing provisions related to appeals of the building official's decisions, divesting the Lee County Construction Board of Adjustment and Appeals of the responsibility for review of appeals of the town building official's decisions, including but not limited to determination of unsafe building, authorizing the town of Fort Myers Beach special magistrates to hear appeal of the town's building official's decision, providing for codification, severability, scrivener's errors, conflicts of law, and an effective date. We'll now open the public hearing and entertain a motion to move this to October 21st at 9 a.m.
That is correct. And the basis or the purpose for the continuance is to come back to council and provide you with some additional options rather than simply sending these to the special magistrate. In the past, appeals were to go to the Lee County Board of Adjustment. Some comments were made concerning the cost. And so we want to evaluate and see if there's some other options that you have. Currently, you have in effect an emergency ordinance, so if there are any appeals that are filed, they will go to the special magistrate.
Okay,
I will move ordinance 24-30 unsafe building code appeals to October 21st at 9 a.m.
got a motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is the second reading and public hearing of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending Number 1, Table 34-3, titled Dimensional Regulations in Conventional Zoning Districts, in Chapter 34, Article 3, Division 4, to create Note 10, to provide that detached single-family and two-family homes without a commercial use in any conventional zoning district where use is allowed may be evaluated by building coverage rather than FAR. Section 34-675C in Chapter 34, Article 3, Division 5, to provide that the building intensity of commercial and mixed-use buildings shall be evaluated using floor area ratio, FAR, and detached single-family and two-family resident intensity shall be evaluated using building coverage not to exceed 40% in the downtown zoning district. 3, Section 34-683 in Chapter 34, Article 3, Division 5, related to the creation of neighborhood centers in the Santini zoning district to provide that detached single-family and two-family resident building coverage shall not exceed 40%. Number 4, Section 34-693 in the village zoning district regulations to provide that Commercial and mixed-use building intensity shall be evaluated using floor area ratio, FAR, and detached single-family and two-family resident intensity shall be evaluated using building coverage and shall not exceed 40%. And section 5, 34-705 in the CB zoning district to provide that for commercial and mixed-use developments, floor area ratio shall not exceed 1.0, and the building coverage for detached single-family and two-family residences, building coverage shall not exceed 40%, providing for severability, codification, scrivener's errors, conflicts of law, and providing an effective date. I'll now open the second reading public hearing. Sarah?
Good evening, Sarah Probst with Community Development. What you have before you here today is, basically we needed to differentiate between single-family and two-family residential structures and commercial buildings. Prior to this, single-family and two-family residential structures were measured by floor area ratio. This was somewhat problematic, especially in some of the smaller lots where a large portion of the property is in the EC zoning district. So this was a request that we look at another way to do this. So now we are applying, or this code section would apply the 40% building coverage requirement rather than the floor area ratio requirement. This will allow for homes to be elevated with garages below and not exceed the allowable floor area ratio.
Okay. Counselor King, questions for Sarah?
None.
Vice Mayor Adderall?
No.
Counselor Woodson?
No.
Counselor Safford?
Not at this time.
Okay. The only thing I have is just to clarify again, like we did in the first reading, this does not have anything to do with commercial properties. It's single family and dual family, however we worded it, two-family residential structures.
Yes, that's correct. And it does not include mixed use, and it does not include multifamily development.
So it's not increasing anybody's intensity, it's not increasing anyone's density, it's simply changing how you calculate it for
Yes.
residential only.
Yes,
Okay?
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to add, once again, fantastic job.
thank you.
Public comment. Anyone like to speak in public comment? Doesn't look
Anybody
like.
care
Nope.
if we agree?
I will close public comment,
Monday
bring
Night
it back
Football
to the
started.
council for, is there a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 24-24, building coverage instead of FAR?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor Safford,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderall?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next, we have the administrative agenda. Item A is a ratification of the mayor's signatures and changes to the resolution. Joe?
Okay. Joe Wanzik, Finance Director. This resolution really is a follow-up to the resolution that you passed on September 9th, in which you authorized the mayor to sign the community disaster loan application. After that town council meeting, we heard from FEMA that upon further review, they decided that section 9 of that resolution did not pertain to the town. And section 9 was the one that had a provision that the town was pledging as collateral its revenues to repay the loan, which is a normal part of a loan agreement. But in this case, apparently the state is the co-signer to the community disaster loan, in which case then that made this section not pertain to us. So they asked us to strike that section out of the resolution and then renumber the following two sections since that section was taken out. So we're just asking you to then ratify that change.
So the mayor had already signed it based on the action that you took on September the 9th. So you're ratifying his signature with the amendment that is being requested, which is the deletion of section 9.
Questions? Counselor King?
Yeah, but I don't know where to start. So, go ahead.
All right, Vice Mayor Adderall?
None.
Counselor Woodson?
None.
Counselor Safford?
None.
I do not have any either. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
move approval of administrative agenda item A.
Okay, got a motion by Vice Mayor.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Woodson. Do you want a roll call vote for these as well, or no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be preferable.
Okay. Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Next is the CDBG-DR Public Facilities and Critical Infrastructure Awards. Frankie? Or Andy?
This is basically just to accept the amounts that we had gotten through the CDBGR grants. So this is not actually taking the funds per se, this is just accepting the awards on those projects, so we can move forward with the other documents that'll follow.
Okay, just real briefly, in case somebody wasn't paying attention to before, what the 8 million and the over 8 million and over 4 million will be used for.
So altogether, we have requested $15 million for 5 different projects. And we were granted a little over $13 million with those projects. So we'll get roughly a little under 5 million for the north or west water tower, totally renovation, brand new water tank, facility and infrastructure. The other part will be for the lighting from Bayside Veterans Park all the way down to Times Square, down to Old San Carlos, with new light poles, lights, wiring throughout the whole system, which was compromised by Hurricane Ian. Then moving over here to our community pool, we granted roughly $5 million for the reconstruction and renovation of the community pool. And last but not least, a little under $3 million in total funds for the renovation of Newton Park. We cannot replace a historical structure, but based on a few of the things that we have internally, that were given to us by the R2P2 folks, and some of the other projects that we've kind of been telling about ourselves, that's how the funds will be separated. We cannot use funds, leftover money, to carry over to another project. They're specific just to those projects.
Yeah.
Any funds that are not used have to go back into the fund for the CDBGR. And there are a lot of things as far as waivers and stuff as we get into the construction project, but we'll talk more about those when they actually come to fruition.
And the county's already started the environmental review, and they've already been out here looking at the sites and all that, so the process is moving pretty quick.
Okay, any other questions for staff?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Move approval of administrative agenda item B.
All right. A motion by Vice Mayor Adderholt,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is lobbyist Ronald L. Book, PA contract renewal.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, this is a budgeted item. Talked to Mr. Book, and they're renewing it at the same rate that we just finished paying, but I think the dividends, we reap the rewards of this investment tenfold, 20-fold maybe with some of the, the state funding, just the 7 million, 8 million we got for the town hall itself. So we anticipate continuing to use Mr. Book and his staff.
Okay, questions for Andy? Counselor King?
I would just state that a couple of years ago, when I was a private citizen, I'm not sure I would have agreed with this, but he has really stepped up and come forward, and I'm very proud of what has been accomplished.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
I would associate myself with the comments of Counselor King.
Okay, Counselor Woodson?
I'm good.
Counselor Safford?
I'm good.
All right, I'm good. Is there a motion to approve the contract with the lobbyist Ronald Book?
So moved.
So, second.
The Vice Mayor Adderholt has made a motion to approve, and Counselor King seconded. Any further discussion? Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is item D, contract for the sale of 6221 Estero Boulevard. Andy?
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. We are moving forward with the purchase of the 7-Eleven property. We've been doing our due diligence surveys, what's the other test we did? Environmental test, but there's really nothing on that property except what's there. We will proceed as soon as we get a closing date set. We'll come back with a budget amendment, and we anticipate the return of our $7 million investment any day, if it hasn't come already.
Actually, we received it today.
So,
Very nice.
it keeps moving. You don't stand still or look the other way too quick. Something's gonna happen. So we've got that, so we'll be able to utilize some of that. We're putting that money back. We'll come again with a budget amendment to purchase this. Then we'll start with the demo process. We have two demo companies in line to do some of the demos that we're setting up on the properties in town. So we'll move fairly quickly with that to get that done and to start getting the design for raising the parking lot, much like you've seen Mr. Richard did with his property to contain water on site, and which it should help with the neighbors, because I don't think the town hall building was ever properly set up for the drainage. And that contributed potentially to some of the problem, in my opinion. I'm not a hydrologist or an engineer, but that just seems to be because it's set up so high right in that area. So we're gonna try to help alleviate some of that once we get access to the other property and start that process, which I would imagine would have upwards of 50 parking spaces on it once we finish. So that's just part of what we're doing to make sure that we're good neighbors and provide the proper parking for a structure that we have purchased.
So your action tonight is to basically approve the contract. You have been provided just an updated version of it, and also to authorize the town manager to sign any and all closing statements or documents, as well as the mayor, and for both of them to sign the closing statement, which is the actual expenditure of funds.
All right, questions for staff?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Move approval of agenda item D. Congratulations to all involved.
Got a motion by the vice mayor,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Next, we removed item E, the motion carries unanimously, sorry. Item F is the band's construction, third amendment. Who's,
Yeah, so that's
Frankie?
basically the surf style shop that's on the corner of Old San Carlos and North Estero. They're just waiting on an elevator repair. They've actually gone a lot faster than they anticipated. Now this kind of threw them back just a little bit, but they're asking for an extension for the month, possibly through the end of November.
okay? Questions for staff? Counselor King?
None.
Vice Mayor?
Could you just give 30 more seconds explanation as to what this is?
Sure, it's the surf style shop, the two-story one.
Yep.
That's on the corner of Old San Carlos and North Estero. And basically, they had totally renovated that building. The last, I think, 4 months, now we've been coming to you and asking for extensions. They've actually bought the extensions that we're asking about. They've actually bought the parking around that building so they could fence that off for their construction equipment and supplies and that for the store. They've got all the windows in, they've got all that stuff. So a lot of those that fencing and barricades have been removed and been put back closer to the building itself, freeing up those spots as we come along. But now they have to continue asking for just the little, I think it's on North Estero.
When you say they
specifically.
bought, they've actually bought the parking spots?
They
in there?
actually paid for what it would cost
Yeah.
to park a vehicle there during the day.
So none of this is to be confused with the discussion we had long before you guys came about the property right in front of the store that was under discussion as to whether the town had right of way for an additional lane there. You remember all that? You may not remember. Have you ever come into any of that discussion? There was a lot of discussion. You remember that, Mr. Mayor? I don't know what ever happened to that conversation, because if we ever needed an additional lane for folks to come off, if they come over the bridge to turn over into Times Square.
Other side.
We're the other side of the
keep going.
intersection. So
This
there's
is the
two
other
surf
side.
style shops.
Oh, this is the other
This is
side.
the two-story one.
Never
Yes.
mind.
Yes.
Got you. Thank you very much. Yep. Very helpful. Yep.
Yeah, you lost me for a second.
It seems like there's quite a few of them around.
It's
Just have
getting
to-
late early
I'm
out
like,
there.
getting late.
All right, Counselor Woodson, any questions?
I'm good.
Counselor Safford?
I'm good.
I'm good as well. Is there a motion to approve the third amendment to the contract for bands construction?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderhold?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Brings us to final public comment. There's no one here. I will close final public comment. Town managers items.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have a couple, three things. The memorial service is Saturday, 9/28 at 8 o'clock at Santini Plaza. It'll be short and simple. We've got a couple of responses so far from Senator Martin and Commissioner Sandelli, and I'm not sure if we've heard any more at this point, but we've reached out to several. We're not anticipating a lot of speaking, but we're just something just solemn and and brief, just kind of celebrating the recovery and resiliency of our community. Town hall update, we continue to move forward with that. I've been meeting with carpet and I'll be meeting with painters tomorrow afternoon, trying to get that expedited. We also are working with our architect to get the design of the downstairs, kind of like a checklist, if you will, so we can get possibly piggyback a contractor that worked in Bonita Springs. So that's real possibility to speed that up a little bit. So, you know, with all the stars aligning just right, you know, hopefully by the first of the year, we could be completed in that building. But again, the stars just have to line just perfectly. And I think we are doing our due diligence with everything to make sure that we check all the right boxes and do all the right things. Staff is extremely excited about the possibility of getting in a new home. So we're all excited about it. We also are working, and Jeff and I and Frankie have talked a lot about the landscaping along Estero, North Estero, and Old San Carlos. I've spoken with Kathy with the Garden Club. We want to move forward on those projects. We have the money. We've been looking at that as far as, you know, any equipment we need to purchase. That the money that came from the county is pretty broad. So there's some things we can do to be creative to help with watering and things like that. We're going to attack it a little differently, possibly purchase a watering truck instead of trying to go out with a little bucket and fill things up. And we're going to work on our beach ends. We're going to start, you know, those processes if we can with FEMA and with the beach renourishment. But we're going to try to close the loop on some of those this week so we can get that going as we get into season. Some of that hopefully will start progressing. Old San Carlos, like I said, the North Estero and Estero Boulevard. Frankie's going to talk a little bit about the notice of violations for the trailers.
Yes, that seems to be a hot topic here in town, especially with tropical cyclone 9 out there today. We were told in no uncertain terms by FEMA that all trailers, commercial trailers, and connexes had to be removed no later than November 18th. The town does not have a police department that we can enforce this, nor can we legally use the sheriff's department in this matter. The only recourse we have is through code enforcement. We have already drafted a letter which is also going to be used as our notice of violation to these businesses, commercial properties that are out there. I just want to say with a caveat that there is a channel of recourse for these businesses. This is not the end-all be-all. FEMA did not give us that luxury, but built into our own code compliance system here in the state of Florida, it does allow people to go in front of a magistrate. A magistrate that we've selected is an independent group called DOA. They're out of Tallahassee. They're going to be hearing these cases. We're going to facilitate the hearing of these cases here in our facility, so not as to inconvenience any of the business owners in our community any more than they've already been through the news and whatnot. I understand FEMA's direction. We totally understand the guidelines. It is written into our own policy moving forward. But under the current situation, I cannot ask somebody to pack up and leave right now. In case in point, we are giving ourselves, the town of Fort Myers Beach, the very first violation. And I want to be clear on that. I know it sounds ridiculous and pungent, but if I'm to ask a business to do it, we have to do it too. We are in trailers, no different than they are. These trailers are considered a commercial trailer, no different than the ones that we're asking them to vacate. We cannot be out of here by November 18th. As such, some of the business owners can't be as well. So the very first violation in this town is going to go to the town of Fort Myers Beach itself. Not only for these trailers, but also for the connexes that we have throughout the town. We have supply sheds that we use connexes for. We also have our marine unit currently based in a connex down underneath the bridge. It goes back to when we were little, and our parents always set a good example. We did the same thing with our demolition of our town hall. We asked the state to help us, they did, and it was after that demolition of the old town hall that we saw the community get behind us and start taking down some of those structures. We're still in the midst of that as far as addressing the demolition. I don't foresee this dragging out over a long period of time but I think it does buy some of these business owners at least a chance to plead their case in front of an independent governing body. In doing so, we'll meet the exact letter of the law and intent, which FEMA states that you have to have an action in place and you have to have an action moving forward. We had just gone through this whole exercise that we submitted on September 16th to FEMA as far as new policies moving forward and how we would address things. This is part of that plan, and that's why I thought it'd be prudent and taking a leadership role in showing that we were going to be the first ones in this. So as of tomorrow morning, we are going to be posting in our lobby in the window the notice of violation against the town of Fort Myers Beach. This is not grandstanding, this is not for optics. We're gonna go through the same process as any other business owner in this town will have to go to. It's up to the magistrate to give you a stay, to hear your story, to understand your code of plea as you move forward. And I just ask that if people don't understand what's going on in the business community, please reach out to me or to our code staff, and we'd be more than happy to try to explain the process moving forward. We're all caught up in this together. There's gonna be a lot of people kind of swarmed along. It just so happens that we have a storm brewing off the coast. So I don't wanna confuse one with the other. This is a process that was put in place over a month ago by FEMA. We reached out to a few business owners at that time and tried to explain how they could possibly get a stay, if that's the proper word, which I know it's not. But to no avail, FEMA has not given us any direction, any reassurance or any type of understanding of what we asked. So this is the best way to recourse. This was their edict, and we're gonna move forward with that.
One other thing, I want to thank Joe and his staff for the excellent budget. I think the transparency is evident in how we want to operate the town, and I want to thank each one of you for the support and the unanimous decision tonight to support the budget. That means a lot to all of us. It shows how we are working together, and I think that is a unified voice and a unified front that we show, and that's very important. I've been experiences before where that's not as unified, and this really means a lot. I think that speaks well of you, speaks well of our staff, and have the trust you have in us, and Judith and Sarah, and the things they did tonight with the planning part is really a big deal to me as a town manager, to have people in place that can make these things happen for you and for our town. So I applaud each employee and my staff that we do the right things, and we continue to look to improve. That's all we got.
I
Okay.
have a question.
Yes.
Saturday morning, rain or shine, given our weather patterns and things that could be happening before that, so we'll move forward with it, or?
We
is it-
anticipate moving forward, we'll probably have about 4 tents up, down there's an area for electricity, and Nicole and I will go scout that out tomorrow, or, probably tomorrow, just to make sure of the location, but I believe, fingers crossed, and we'll think positive, and it's not gonna be 112 like it was last year, but, maybe more like 102, but, we'll be out there. Shorts and, not gonna worry about, suits and ties and coats and formalities. It's just gonna be us, the way we live our lives on this beach, so this island. So we're gonna go forward. I guess if push came to shove and it's torrential, we could get out there on Sunday morning or something. So we'll kind of keep people posted if that were to be the case. That's the extreme, and that'd be if it was just some kind of deluge that we just can't get out there, and it's dangerous to get out. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Real quick, there's a lot of questions, obviously, with the storms coming in, or this storm coming in, about making a decision as to a surge level that we're gonna require people to remove their trailers from the island. Have you had that discussion yet as to that height or that limit? Not to put you on the spot, but people are asking, I've been telling people that have asked me, it'll probably come tomorrow morning when we have a better understanding of when it's gonna hit, where it's gonna hit, what the surge is gonna be like, what time of the day it's gonna be based on the tides, and maybe make a better educated decision tomorrow. But just wanna put it on your radar. People are asking about it, to have to make that decision to get those out of the way. So can you commit to maybe tomorrow, giving an update to the public
Absolutely. I think from my perspective, everybody kind of needs to take their own initiative and make some decisions on their own, because you could get to a point of no return. But we will definitely be monitoring. I was watching today and looking as much as I could all day at what was happening. You know, we've got our fingers crossed, that it does, you know, a little better than Adalia and a little better than Debbie, and just keeps moving out a little bit. And I know it's gonna be kind of a compact storm as of now, which is probably a good thing, and a quick mover is even a better thing. I think Debbie sat there a while and just kept giving us stuff, and I think the times we anticipated, we might be at low tides when it should be really right out here. I think it's early Thursday morning.
1 o'clock Thursday morning.
Which might be a plus for us at that time, but I think the winds should come probably, you know, a direction that should be beneficial to us. But again, yes, we will be as diligent as we can and encourage people to do what they need to do in the next, 24 to 36 hours after sometime, tomorrow.
Because it's gonna be, that's gonna be very important, because you're looking at, on Thursday, 2.5 to 3 foot storm surges, or not storm surges, but tides. So with the storm surge, that could be a significant amount of water, so, just so we can let people know in the morning where we stand on that.
We will.
Any other questions for the town manager? Town attorney items.
I do have an item tonight.
All right.
So I want to advise you that Paul Waters of our firm, he represented the town in a lawsuit involving Dania Carbello Ortiz and Daisy Garcia. Pending before the court was a motion for summary judgment. The court granted the motion, the town's motion for the summary judgment, and issued a final judgment. So what all that means is this is one of your foreclosure actions that was pending when we came on board. So we were able to get this final judgment. The court found that the amounts due and owing the town is $713,900. So now, once we have this judgment, we will move forward towards collection efforts. Because this is a foreclosure, a sale of the property has been scheduled for November 7th, 2024 at 9 a.m. And that is a foreclosure sale. We have also heard that there's possibly a private sale going on, so the town may see some money before November, but we don't know the status of that. So the bottom line is, we're moving forward with trying to recover some money for the town.
Okay. Questions for Nancy? Yes, sir.
This is unrelated, and since the sunshine laws prevent me from having a conversation with the mayor, I'll ask him right here. You made a comment on a public media show, Beach Talk Radio on Sunday, about the potential for a settlement negotiation with the owner of the Chiastero property. In essence, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm mischaracterizing, in essence, there was a thought that maybe we could figure out a way to encourage the owner to begin to open those shops more aggressively at a rent that's potentially available for retail, hair salon, et cetera, whatever. All the island needs a lot of retail help right now. I thought it was a very intriguing concept, Mr. Mayor. Is that something you want to pursue, and should we talk about it here? I know it's getting late, but it just was intriguing to me, and the town attorney's here, and I assume you still have a line of communication with their counsel. I just thought it was an intriguing idea.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of came out of nowhere. Quite honestly, it was just the amount of money that the town has already collected from him previously, and now what's been ordered at the magistrate level again. I mean, that's a large sum of money, and to me, it just seems that money could go to much better uses from his standpoint, as far as just giving it to the town to be able to subsidize maybe some of these rents that these people would have to pay in there. I don't know if there's anything the town can do as far as that goes to.
So the process, if I can just comment, so right now we have an order from our special magistrate, so she has imposed a fine on him in the amount of the 91. The next step would be to go ahead and have that fine certified as a lien and have that placed of record. And once that's there for 3 months, then we could come back and authorize foreclosure of the property. We can go ahead and begin conversation with his attorney if you would like, if you want to direct me to do that, to try to resolve the matter.
I I guess my intent wasn't to have the town be the ones that give the money to subsidize his business there. It was more of a cry to the person that keeps offending to maybe look at the money that you're wasting.
Oh, I see,
Could
yeah.
be
Yeah,
going
yeah.
towards.
For good.
Not only get in compliance, but also begin to operate your shopping center as a shopping center again.
Right.
And that seems like an interesting settlement negotiation. Only an extremely clever attorney like our town attorney could figure out a way to nuance that.
Sure.
But I thought it was a really interesting idea and just thought that would be good for the council just to get their thoughts and impressions. Because I can just tell you, we're desperate for retail space, and for that just to sit there is very troubling on a number of fronts, but I'm interested in
So
everybody else's thoughts.
you do have a section in your code about forgiveness or abatement of liens. If you recall, Ms. Ortiz came to you and asked for you to reduce the amount of her lien. So I will look into that code and I'll talk to Kiestero's attorney and see if maybe he has that opportunity to go through that process where you can reduce it. I think jurisdiction-wise, you have to actually have a lien. I think that the fine is still within the jurisdiction of the special magistrate.
Yeah, with his track record, we would want to have some serious metrics built in where he could demonstrate that he's showing good faith about getting his retail center back up and operational so people can utilize that space. I'm curious as to everybody else's thoughts on this. Scott in particular, you know that area well. What do you think?
You can't change you
Yeah.
can't change spots on a leopard. I
Right.
mean, it's a, I applaud the mayor for the idea, but we have to know who we're dealing with here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I see nothing that is gonna change with him. I mean, he's, I'll just leave it, I say nothing
I
is gonna
understand.
change with him.
He's a repeat offender.
He's a repeat offender.
No, I understand. I just
And
serial
he-
offender.
And it's
See,
almost a mockery now.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I mean,
It's very troubling, but.
He was, am I correct in saying that he was supposed to cease and desist and shut down?
Yep.
He's just sticking his nose at us.
Yeah, exactly, it's a mockery. I wanna cut him zero slack.
Yeah, it's not about cutting him slack, it's about changing the incentive structure to encourage him to do what would be in the public interest of the town, but your point's well taken. I mean, clearly the track record is not good, but just thought maybe give it the old college try. Yeah.
Jim, I applaud all efforts to get small business back on the island, and if he showed any intent of
Any intent.
of, trying to make that place a shopping center, not a parking lot, I'd be all for it. I mean, we need small business back on this island.
Can we at least, legitimate skepticism stated and appreciated and certainly agree with it, can we at least give our attorney the opportunity just to probe around on that? Would everybody
Yeah.
be okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a long shot, but
And Nancy, in all fairness, they are going through, or they're currently in the process of trying to get the special exception. Is that a fair statement?
I believe that they have submitted their application. Sarah might be able to help with that. I know that back in July, they were lacking a survey, but I think that they have moved forward with a survey. She's gonna look it up now to see what the status is. It has not gone to
I remember
LPA
listening
yet.
to the magistrate hearing, they had said that they submitted their application for the special exception, but.
They did at their first hearing, but it was lacking, but then at the second hearing that we recently had, yes, they did say that they had completed that. It was just the survey, but I don't have a date for the LPA review yet.
Just for point of reference, he was in here today because we stopped work on his wall. He was working without permits, and he doesn't understand why he has to get permits. And so we continue to try to educate him on why he has to have permits. And he wants to meet with me tomorrow, and it doesn't seem to end. He can get his walls up, just come get the permit. But he's got some work he's done. They've got to do some x-raying. I mean, Joe takes this stuff serious when people do stuff without permits. And
Yeah.
case in point, this
And he
is
should.
another one. And he was in here today arguing with Tom about permits, why it was shut down. So
Well, again, I just want to clarify, I was not looking at throwing him a lifeline by any
Yeah,
stretch of the
no,
imagination. It was more of a,
I didn't
a
see it that
public,
way, yeah.
a public outcry to
Right,
his
yes.
mental, I don't know if there's
Better
any
nature.
goodwill or.
Psychological. Better nature.
That's kind of what I was getting at with that, not
Yeah, makes
necessarily
sense.
for the, all right. Did we, no, go ahead.
It is in, and it is in review at
Okay,
present.
but we don't know when it's going to LPA yet.
No,
So
we
it
don't have
hasn't
that.
completed staff review yet,
Okay.
so it's in process.
So they're at least trying to go through the correct process to
Yes.
be allowed to do.
This is not about leniency. This is about holding him accountable and providing some carrots to try to do the right thing. If, I know it's a long shot too, but I just, maybe through his counsel, maybe there's a path.
If you wanna authorize me to have the conversation, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just feel it out.
okay, is that consensus? I'm okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Discussion never, anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
I have a question though, all the discussion of forgiveness and things like that. Do we have an update or is there anything progressing on the Jesse Smith issues or?
That is our last foreclosure case. We filed an amended complaint. They filed a motion to dismiss, which we felt was without merit. We have told them that we think it's without merit. They have until the end of the month to withdraw it, or we will go forward to the court and tell the court that their motion to dismiss is without merit. So that procedurally, there's some delay built into that process, but we are trying very hard to bring that one to completion.
Okay, thank you.
Well, since we're on that, can you give us any updates? Where are we with the unsafe structure of commercial and residential buildings, the letters that have gone out?
So the first 7 properties that we have 3 that are actually viable. When I say viable, we've had a couple of them that have actually come into compliance, meaning that they were dry flood proofed. They found proof of that. They went through the county, it's all been checked out. The Hoosier building is the one example I'm bringing up here, 19001 Estero. So there's plans in place already to bring that remaining part of that structure back into compliance. As far as the other one, Sunset Tropical Treasures or whatever it was burned out before the storm. We have it on our demo list. It has cleared. It was going to be the first structure demoed. We now found out through Hanch, one of the vendors that we've secured, that there's already been a communique for demolition on that property. So whether the owners have reached out or whatever, either way, that building will be coming down very, very shortly. The other ones, we have Hanch coming into town, and I think it's Fort Myers.
Southwest Structures or
Southwest
something.
Those 2 vendors are gonna come in, take a look at the structures, and start giving us prices. Their time is up, and these structures.
That's what I was getting at.
Yes,
We have
that
properties
first
that their
list,
time is up.
We're already well into that second list as far as the Vos Law Firm doing the title searches on those. So this is going to be an ongoing, once we get going, this machine's not gonna stop.
So we do have properties that have gone through their due diligence process.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
and
Past the
Yes.
60
Now
days.
So there's a 30-day appeal period. Once the property is red tagged, 30-day appeal period, and then by statute, there's another 30 days in the event that somebody was actually there. So at that 60-day period, that is the review that staff recently did, because we had a number of properties that had hit that 60 days. But when we looked closely at each one of those, a lot of them had already been developed or demolished. Others had permits pending, and I think it's down to 3 properties. Right,
That
and
is
so the
correct,
3
yeah.
properties, they have gone out and gotten proposals from the demolition contractors, and we're waiting to see what, then at that point, we have to get it scheduled, once we get the proposal, and proceed forward. Staff is also doing another outreach to the owner to let them know that we have secured a demo contractor, and then this is the day that the demolition's gonna occur. I understand from staff also that they'll be posting a notice on the property, so those in the adjacent neighborhood will know that this building's coming down on this date, and also that they'll be posting at town hall. Is that correct?
That is correct, and by bringing in the vendors to take a look at these properties, that's part of that process. So they can look at it, see what it's gonna curtail to get those properties down, and what kind of time frame they're talking about. once they give us that schedule, we're using it as a hard and fast date, and as council
the
said, we'll
notice.
be posting that, and it'll be
Got it.
coming down.
All right. Thank you.
Is, the Wyndham continues to be Heartburn for some folks. Is that still in the window, or?
Well, they were. We reached out to them, and they fenced it off as we required. We asked that they not take their time, but they had discussions at that time that they were going to find their own route to demolition that never came to fruition. So they are back on our list, and they will be red tagged and moved forward.
I've gotten some recent safety concerns from some of the neighbors down there, and I have asked them to put that on the hot burner to make this happen, whether they like it or not. It's been 2 years. It's time to move. So
That is correct.
that's probably the worst one we have in town besides the one down at Old Tin Carp.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, council member items and reports. Counselor Safford,
I'm good.
Counselor Woodson,
I'm good.
Vice Mayor Adderholt,
I'm good as well.
Counselor King.
I'll try to be brief. I mentioned earlier Doug Hadaway with the Trust for Public Land. He did a presentation to the Lee County MPO on Friday on BERT. That's the Bonita Estero Rail Trail Project. Communities have, some of them, I think Estero, Bonita Springs have unanimously supported this effort. And he would like to come out to a council meeting and do a presentation for us and try to get a vote in support of that project as well. He believes, and we didn't really get a chance to discuss it thoroughly, that it will have a benefit to Fort Myers Beach as well. I'm not sure if he's thinking because of the possible extension of the bike lanes that the county has approved going into Bonita Springs from Big Carlos Pass Bridge, if that's one of the offshoots that he thinks will be a support for the trail project or not. But
Thank you.
I guess if he's I think he wants a vote, so I'm not sure we could take that at an M&P, so I'll just leave it up to you all as to what you would like to do.
Do you need a vote or consensus?
The request is for him to appear and to
Present.
make the presentation.
But I'm sure as part of that presentation, he'll want the town to take a stand.
Like to
On
vote
the
yes or no
project.
to it.
Yes,
Support of whatever.
yeah.
Okay.
We can do that from a public presentation, couldn't we?
I think you could at an M&P, but you could also bring it up at your next council meeting, just to make it formal in the form of a resolution. You could do that. If you want to hear their presentation first and discuss it among yourselves, and then at the next meeting, take the formal action.
Okay, yeah,
Would
I'm
that
okay either way, or,
Work? Or you could have him at your next meeting, I mean, at an official meeting where you can take action.
I guess for me, it makes more sense to have it at an M&P. These agendas, I
They're
don't think
long.
are gonna get
Discuss.
any shorter anytime sooner.
I
Sure.
don't think so.
So, it would make sense to be able to have a forum where we could discuss it and then move it to as a resolution or something potentially to vote
A
on.
resolution is, I think, helpful for them to have as the official, action by the
Right.
town.
sounds good to me, thank you.
I'm okay with that.
Thank you.
M&P.
All right.
Mayor, you mentioned long agendas, just so you know, for the 7th, I already have 20 items in my
I know,
queue.
it's gonna be
All day.
all day.
Okay.
I'm gonna save those sandwiches.
If they make it that long, yeah.
They won't make it that
I don't have anything pertinent that I need to talk about, but, go ahead.
Just one thing, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're the 21st, staff is, for those who choose, will wear pink, so encourage you guys if you have that, or we'll get a lapel pin and we'll just recognize that on the 21st of October.
Okay.
We have a council meeting that day, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we don't have pink shirts.
But you're wrong.
I don't have a pink
Was
shirt
it subtle? All right.
You get to go buy one.
Mr. King?
Well, tonight has, I think both meetings have proven the words sung by the late Jermaine Stewart to be true. We don't have to take our clothes off to have a good time. Oh, no. We could dance and party all night and drink some cherry wine. And with that, I will move to adjourn.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right. I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:37.